In this video, we'll talk about using joysticks with the Xbox Adaptive Controller. Specifically, we'll cover the use of joysticks that also have buttons on them, in addition to the joystick itself, and how you can remap the functions of those buttons from their default to what you want them to be. The Xbox Adaptive Controller supports external joysticks that use the HID, joystick, or gamepad protocols by connecting them to the left or right USB port of the device. Some of these compatible joysticks may also have buttons on them, in addition to the joystick itself. The Logitech Extreme 3D Pro Flight Stick is one example of this. For any compatible USB joysticks with buttons, the Xbox Adaptive Controller will support up to 8 of these buttons to be used as inputs. Even if the joystick has more than 8 buttons, like the Logitech 3D Pro controller that has 12, only 8 buttons will be supported and the rest will be ignored. The 8 physical buttons that will be detected by the adaptive controller and work is determined by what the manufacturer of the joystick assigned in code as buttons 1 through 8 when they created it. Unfortunately, this can't be changed. The controller will automatically assign default functions to those 8 buttons that work, or if your joystick has less than 8 buttons, to however many buttons the joystick has. When you plug a joystick into the adaptive controller's left USB port, the controller will assign joystick buttons 1 through 8 the following functions by default. Button 1, X1. Button 2, X2. Button 3, stick click left. Button 4, left bumper. Button 5, A. Button 6, B. Button 7, view. And button 8, menu. Similarly, when you plug a joystick into the controller's right USB port, buttons 1 through 8 will be given the following assignments by default. Button 1, view. Button 2, menu. Button 3, right stick click. Button 4, right bumper. Button 5, X. Button 6, Y. Button 7, X1. And button 8, X2. As we mentioned, you can't change which physical buttons on the joystick will work if there are more than 8. However, you can change the function of the 8 buttons that do work from the default assignment they're given to any other function. You can do this using the Xbox Accessories app. Assuming your joystick is already connected to your controller and your controller is also connected to your console or PC, launch the Xbox Accessories app. Then, select the Configure option under the Xbox Adaptive Controller. Select New Profile. You can name it whatever you'd like. And now we need to reassign the default functions of the buttons on the joystick to what we want them to be. Even though the graphical interface on the Accessories app doesn't show an image of your joystick, remapping the default functions listed within the Xbox Adaptive Controller user interface itself to what you want them to be will also change the functions of the buttons on the joystick you have plugged in. So we already know the default assignment for these buttons. If we want to change the function from its default to something else, we essentially have to remap the default assignment to the function we want that button to be on the joystick. For example, we know that button 1 on the Logitech 3D Pro stick, which is the trigger shape button, is mapped to X1 by default when the joystick is plugged into the left USB port. In order to change this button from functioning as X1 to the desired function of right bumper, for example, I'm going to find the X1 function in the Xbox Adaptive Controller Remapping UI. And then change that to right bumper. Similarly, if I want to change the button on the Logitech stick that's mapped to A by default to Y instead, I would select A in the Xbox Adaptive Controller user interface, and then change A to Y, and so on. These changes will now reflect when I press the buttons on my joystick itself as well.